It's an old group, 80-year-old startup, I call it. Right now, yes, just like anybody else, we focus on certain traditional businesses, but I think the future is inevitable going to be renewables. So what the group has seen, especially in the last 2 years, that Indonesia actually has a lot to offer for this net zero transition. I like to say that Indonesia can be probably the Saudi Arabia of renewables and also electrification. So the group embarked on this electrification starting with public transportation, buses, in Jakarta. Transjakarta alone, in the next 7 years, they're going to have about 10,000 buses to be electrified. And we are front and center to lead the change for that. And another thing also that I see quite interesting is that now there is a huge shortage of processed nickel. We would like to see how we can do it in an ESG way, because Indonesia can actually do it. As we know, Indonesia has anything you can think of about renewables, whether that's hydro, solar, ocean, winds, what have you. So what we are studying, the initiative, is to build nickel cathode using hydro that is already available in Indonesia and try to serve the UK market. And one point in time, in 2 to 3 years, while we are at it, probably we can continue on from nickel cathode to battery cell with a partner. And at the end, we will be the off-taker of that. So that's going to be quite exciting from bus, passenger car, and maybe motorcycles.
So you're looking at building a whole ecosystem. In terms of your electric buses, for instance, you tied up with China's BYD. Are you looking at further partnerships? How are you looking at developing this ecosystem?
Yeah, this is also globalization at its best, Haslinda. If you look at battery cell in the middle, the right of battery cell, we're actually partnering with BYD, starting with buses for the moduling, packaging, and later on, let's see, maybe we look at passenger cars or motorcycle at the end. But from battery cell to the left, I call it, from nickel, sulfate, precursor, we're actually working with the UK to make sure that we can supply the nickel cathode as they need it. But once you learn how to do it in an ESG way, you probably can be, because everything is relative basis. If you can do it the right way, hopefully you can also serve other market, including yourself. So right now, we are in the process of trying to power 80 gigawatt hour of battery plant, gigafactory in the UK. And hopefully in 2 to 3 years, we can make ourselves 15 to 20 gigawatt hour and probably supply for our own buses, passenger car, as we really need it. So rewriting the whole supply chain, at least that's what we are aspiring to do.
You led a team to meet with Elon Musk recently. What kind of investments, perhaps, could we be looking at in terms of his contribution to Indonesia's green ambitions?
Yeah.
What would it take, the likes of Elon Musk and Tesla, to make a commitment to the EV space in Indonesia?
I think 3 things. Just like any other businessman, I suppose I cannot speak on his behalf. Price is important. Certainty of price, because nickel price can be very high sometimes, so having a range is important. Number 2, also certainty of supply, because some manufacturers probably will do 80% using LFP battery, 20% maybe NMC, or the other way around. So certainty of supply of nickel is very important, just like any other materials. And the third one, I think the way you process it is also important, because you cannot just sell EV cars but the process is not using, the net zero, ESG kosher way.
You're leading the group after a very successful stint. In fact, it all started when you were in your 20s. You were mobilized to, I guess, revive the struggling TV station. You did that in 2 years. I'm just wondering, how are you looking at succession within the Bakrie Group?
So what's interesting also, Haslinda, is that, this COVID accelerate a lot of things, right? Certainly the health sector, global health architecture will be different. Certainly the renewable energy and electrification also, but also just the succession planning, right? Now you start to feel that the younger generation has to step up, right? So when I came to the picture of Bakrie Brothers about 3 years ago, I was tasked to see how to transform this 80-year-old startup to at least hit it to its centennial year. The interesting is that the telecom media technology actually help you to think much more structurally with speed, agility, but at the same time, remain, rooted to the DNA of the group. So very exciting, a lot of room for improvement here and there. It cannot be done overnight, but we're hopeful that Bakrie can be, quote unquote, the proxy of Indonesian economy, right? Because we have been there for 80 years.
80 years old, I mean, that's where the company is right now. What's the vision for the company? And what's the vision for Indonesia?
I think the vision for the company is that how Bakrie Group can be the proxy of Indonesian economy when it comes to modernization, when it comes to industrialization, when it comes to digitalization. And Indonesia, I think in about 20 years should be not only in G20, but we hope to be top 5 in G20. But it's not the question of, we want to get there, but how are we doing it, right? We want to do it with collaborative manner. We want to have inclusivity. We also want to make sure that the welfare of Indonesia actually progress, right? As you know, these 275 million people, half of them are millennials, right? And very soon they're going to lead the country. But the moment is really in these 20 years to make it.